All right, the point is not that I'm Andrew or that this channel is called Road Branching. The point is you've got a Whirlpool oven, cooktop, stove, whatever you want to call this thing, that is not working, and you set a trouble code on that little LCD screen right there that said F6E1. So the F6E1 code is the oven over temperature when heating code. So what you're going to want to do is you're going to grab your handy dandy technician's manual. Now this is not really meant for the DIY, so I'm an automotive technician by trade, so I know how to read wire diagrams and stuff like that. This manual should be in a little pouch on the back of the unit, but if it's not, I'm going to show you real quick how this works. Basically, this oven uses two heating elements. There's a top one on the top of the oven and one on the bottom. The top one is the broil element, the bottom one's the bake element. It turns on both of these elements when it's preheating or in its preheat phase. It turns both elements on to preheat the oven quickly, and then it uses the bottom one to manage temperature when you're baking. Now, this works great. The way these are controlled as far as electronically is there is a main power relay that turns on effectively what is the ground for both of these heating elements, and then two separate relays. One controls the bake element, one controls the broil element at the top. Now, the way these relays are designed is when they fail, gravity pulls them and they stick on. So if you have, the idea behind having a single relay that grounds both elements is that if one relay fails and sticks on, there's a fail safe where you can still turn the power off, so you can turn off both sides of the circuit. So what happened in this oven is it set this code, and if you look, the top element stuck on. So anytime the oven is in any kind of a bake mode, the top element glows bright red. It doesn't ever turn off. The temperature can get up to 500 degrees. That element's still glowing bright red, and it can be a real nasty situation, especially if you don't notice and you have food left in the oven like I did. Anyways, so what I'm going to show you today is what I found as far as testing this thing, and then also how to fix it. So enough talking about the problem, let's dive into the repair. The first step is to obviously slide the unit out so you can get to it. My goodness, I need to clean back here. But we're going to disconnect the power. That is super, super, super important because there's 220 volts of AC current going through here, and we really don't want to die today. So we got to take this cord, unhook it, and then we're going to want to take off this back panel right here so we can get to the main circuit board, and I'll show you what all that looks like and how to test it in just a second. It's just screws around the outside and it comes right off. Pretty darn easy. I don't need to show you that. All right, so this is the back of the unit with the rear taken off, and this is our control board here. These are going to be our three relays. You've got your K2, K1, and K3. If you're looking at a diagram, that'll tell you exactly what each one of these does. The way this works is this is our broil relay, which controls the broil element, which is these guys right here. So the broil relay, this is our problem right in here. This little guy, you can see in here, is all black and burnt. And that got hot and melted the little carrier that moves this top piece up and down. So the temporary fix that I did for this to where I could use the oven was I took the cover off and put a little bit of electrical tape in there to separate the top and bottom contacts. But the reason that this sticks on when the relay goes bad is because gravity pulls that contactor down. So, see how that just drops? The spring tension from this piece down here, or these little ears, there's a plastic piece that comes across. I don't have it because I took it off. But when this got hot, it melted that plastic piece, allowing this contact to drop and stay on all the time. So as soon as this relay kicks on the ground for both the broil and the bake, the electricity starts flowing through this guy. And that's our whole problem. So I put the electrical tape in there to space out the circuit. That way we could still use it while we wait on the part. The problem is these relays are integral to this control board and they are not serviced separately. So you can look up these numbers right there, or that guy right there, or one of these numbers. You can find this control board and it's $600. And I really didn't want to do that, but if you look at these relays, there are numbers. If I can make you see, you can see there's numbers on the back of this. So what I did is, using my background in automotive, that I know that like somebody makes this, it's probably not who makes the circuit board. The circuit board's not my problem. My problem is this relay. The relay should be serviceable. Now it's soldered to the board, but I was able to go and find a new relay from the manufacturer that built these original relays. So this is a exact direct replacement. The numbers match. the one that is coming off, but it's soldered on. So what we got to do now is take this board off and take it out to the workbench and do a little bit of solder work. Okay, so out here on the bench, there's a couple of tools that we're going to need to be able to complete this job. I have a Flex pen right here. I will link that in the description below. Got it on Amazon, not super expensive for that guy. And then this kit, I got the soldering iron warming up right there. This kit was also an Amazon find for super, super cheap. I have a whole review of this kit. It's a really good kit for the money. Let's see if we can actually fix this part. So this circuit board is on the back, and then all your buttons and stuff are going to be on the front there. Now, the circuit board is retained into this plastic by these little lock tabs here. So we're going to need to take our little flathead screwdriver and just kind of pry those lock tabs back so that we can lift the circuit board out. You're going to need to disconnect the ribbon connector. Be careful, these things are kind of fragile. You really don't want to screw this up, because if you screw this up, you're buying a new one. So let's get that circuit board out of there next. Alrighty, so here's that board all taken out. I did have a couple of the lock tabs on this guy break off. You can see that one is broken there. They were both on the side where this relay burnt, so I suspect that this portion got pretty darn hot. Obviously it got hot enough to make that metal turn black, but then I think we also got hot enough to damage the heat treating on the plastic. But anyways, this is the board that we're working with, and so we just have to desolder this relay off the back. There are going to be 6 pins that we're working with here. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So all we have to do is desolder these pins, and then we're going to use our little solder sucker, and we're going to try to do this without screwing up this board, because if we screw this circuit board up, it's big money. Alright, so this tool is an absolute must to be able to get this done. What you could kind of see there is, as I heated up each one of these, got it to liquid, and then hit with the suction, and it slurped all the solder, that one's not all the way, we'll see if we can get it loose, out from around these pins. So now we should be able to turn this thing over and gently pry this up and off. That was a bit more work than I expected, but here's the finished product. We've got the old relay desoldered from the board. Took a little more work than I expected, but here you can clearly see a little more detail. You can see these contacts are burned, and then this black on the plastic here where the plastic started to burn. The new relay has a link that goes between this tab here and this top movable piece here, and this little coil in here is the magnet that pulls on it. So with that, it's time to get our new relay and see if we can't solder it on. I think I'm going to attempt to clean a little more solder out of this hole, because that one didn't turn out super clean, and I want a nice clean install when we put in the new one. So with the new one, in theory, all we got to do is take this little resin or flex pen and apply it to the pins on our new relay. Because this relay has 6 pins, it can only go in one way. You can't screw this up. It goes in that way, obviously. And we're going to go ahead and solder this bad boy in. Well, I would say that looks pretty darn fabulous. So there's our new relay. You'll notice it's the same color. Everything matches. Part numbers and everything is good to go. Worked really nice. Used the flux pen, which is definitely going to live in the soldering kit from now on. And dabbed a little bit on the back sides and then a little bit on the pins. And then what I did was I just came in here with the soldering iron, and then I heated up the center pin and then just fed solder in until it made that nice little cone shape you see there. So this repair, as far as the circuit board is concerned, is complete. So all we got to do now is put it all back together and see if that fixes our issue. This piece here is pretty simple to take off. There's just a screw on that end and then a screw right over here, and then all these little electrical connectors just pop off the back of the board just like that. So obviously we're going back together because you can see the new relay is sitting right there, but that's how everything comes apart and goes back together. So we're going to put all this back together, and I'm going to show you how to test it. Alrighty, once everything is back together and you get your clock set, it is time to test the fix and see if it works. What we're going to do is we're going to enter test mode, which is going to activate the main relay for the oven. So like we said earlier, there is a power and ground side to this element and a power and ground side to that element. So there's the main relay that's going to ground both elements, and then we can switch the power manually. So to enter test mode on this, you're going to hit cancel, cancel, start. It'll enter test mode, go up one, it'll show you the oven temperature in degrees. Now, what this does is it turns on the main relay, and right now, neither of the elements should be on. Previously, this element on top was coming on and staying on as soon as this test mode was entered. And that was giving us our overtemp when warming. So the way you test this is you can hit bake. You'll see the little bake icon appear there, and it'll turn on the bake element, which is the bottom one. You'll also hear the relay click on the control board. Press bake again, turn it off, hit broil, you should hear the click, and then that'll turn on the top element. That's how you test it. You can also watch your temperature here. That'll show you how everything is working. We're gonna hit broil again to turn it off, and then X to cancel, and back out of that screen. Now you may have noticed I changed my shirt. That's because it's actually 2 days later, because I made the cardinal mistake of plugging in a terminal to the wrong plug-in. So make sure you pay attention, because I did not. I was in a hurry trying to get this video pushed out, and I hooked up one of the power wires to the back of the circuit board to the wrong connectors, and this is the result. So yeah, I ended up having to buy a new circuit board after that one kind of exploded on me and almost lit my kitchen on fire. But the repair that we just showed you, as far as fixing the relay, that is the fix. That is what fixed this oven. It's just that I connected it wrong and it almost caught on fire. So there's that. So I will link everything in the description below, including the new control board if you just want to go the control board route. I did find it through a reseller. It's an OE Whirlpool part, and I paid $270, including overnight shipping for it. So not a bad value if you just want to do that and not worry about fixing it. Or you can go the $4 relay route, which again, works fine. You just have to plug in the wires correctly. So I will link all of that stuff in the description below. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments. Otherwise, we'll see you guys in the next video.